two places where relationships will matter a great deal is both at work and at school, both of which you cannot avoid having some type of relationship with somebody. So on today's episode, we're going to talk about how a Christian should conduct themselves with the relationships at work and at school. For many Christians, one of the most challenging places to live out their faith is not at church, but is instead at work or at school. Because at these places, this is where real life tends to happen. That's where you're around people who may not believe the way that you do, or act like you, or value the same things that you value. And the question now becomes, how do you live as a Christian in a place that often does not reflect Christian values? I think a great place for us to start the conversation today is this: being a Christian in a secular environment. Whether it's a workplace or school, most environments today are not centered around God. In fact, many are completely secular. Of course, this means that you may face different values with people. You'll maybe even have different languages. That means that you will face different values, different language, and different priorities that others have around you. And sometimes there's even pressure. Pressure to fit in. Pressure to stay silent on certain topics because it would create controversy. Pressure to compromise with those around you. But being a Christian in that type of environment does not mean that you withdraw yourself. It means that you stand firm and try your best to be like Christ. You are not going to do this by accident. God has placed you in that particular location of your life for a reason. And it's not just to live like everybody else is living. It's not just to do what everybody else is doing. But it's instead to live out as a light for Jesus Christ to people who so desperately need the light of Jesus Christ in their lives. So, while we may live in a world that does not care very much about the things of God, that does not give you or myself an excuse to also follow suit and not care about the things of God. We have to work with excellence for God. This is a very key thing whenever we talk about being around non-believers. The Bible says this in Colossians chapter 3, verse 23. And whatsoever ye do, do it heartily, as to the Lord, and not unto men. That changes everything about how you work. You're not just working for a boss. You're not just working for a paycheck. You're not going to school just to get a good grade. You're working with whatever you're doing for God. That means that your effort and your attitude and your integrity, it all should reflect Him in what you do. A Christian should always be known for being dependable. When somebody asks you to do something, whether it be at work or at school, for those that are younger, you ought to be able to get the job done. Or at the bare minimum, try your best to get the job done and show an effort and dedication and attention to whatever the matter is. We have to give our best. Understand, we're living in a world today where a lot of people just kind of phone it in. They'll do the bare minimum, but they will never go above and beyond whatever is asked of them to be able to do. Christian people, we try our best to go above and beyond. Having a good attitude is so key as well. Can I say that if you go into school and you are showing the love of Christ by just how you act and your demeanor, it'll shock your teacher. If you go into your workplace and you're just happy and you're talking about how good God has been, it'll shock your boss, because no other employee, I can guarantee you, is living out the same type of attitude in their life. We have to do what's right, even whenever it's unnoticed. Can I say that whenever we do something that is right, it should never be for the attention. It should never be for the applause of those around us. It should just simply be for the fact that it's right to do. It's the right thing. And nobody has to tell us twice, and we don't try and cheat the system whenever we can. Your work today is a testimony of God. And sometimes your actions will speak louder than your words ever could. We also have to stand for truth without being hateful. This is one of the most important balances a Christian must learn. We are called to stand for truth, absolutely, but we are not called to be harsh, to be rude, or to be hateful. Standing for truth means you don't compromise what you believe. You don't go along with what is wrong, and you don't stay silent when it matters. But how you stand matters just as much what you stand for. You can be firm in your position, but not be arrogant. You can be bold without being harsh. You can be clear without being unkind. People may not always agree with you, and I'll just go ahead and give you a spoiler alert. There's going to be some times, if you are a Christian, that those that are in the world are not going to agree with you. But they should never be able to honestly say you did not show Christ in your attitude towards them, even though there was a disagreement between both of you. You have to keep your testimony. Your testimony is the most valuable thing that you have other than salvation itself. And in a workplace or school environment, it can be easy to damage it if you're not careful. Little things matter. The way that you talk matters. As you are conversating with other people around you and they're saying things that maybe they ought not to be saying, and definitely things a Christian not ought to be saying, how you respond to those words, how you laugh or associate yourself with those things, it matters. People watch. The jokes you laugh at, it matters. The way that you handle frustration, when somebody makes you mad, when somebody upsets you, how you interact with that person, or just the overall frustration that you show around a specific group of people, remember, they're watching you. Here's one. The way that you treat people, it matters. You should never belittle somebody else. You should never think highly of someone and then think lowly of another. No, everybody should be treated equally. It doesn't take much to lose your credibility. This is the key here. But it does take consistency to build it. It takes a whole lot longer to build your testimony than it does to destroy it. People are watching. Not just what you say, but how you live your life in general. If you say that you're a Christian, your life should support that. Not perfectly, not saying that everything that you do, everything that you say is just absolutely amazing and that there's no mistakes that you've ever made, but there's a genuineness about you. You're real. You're authentic. You're not trying to just be like somebody else or play a game or pretend. You really are you, whomever you may be. This is how Christians should treat others. At the very core of it all, your behavior towards others needs to reflect Christ. Even when people are difficult, even when people are unfair to you, even when people don't treat you right. The Bible says in Matthew chapter 5, verse number 16, "Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven." Your goal is not attention, it's reflection. You're not trying to draw people to yourself, you're pointing others to the God that you serve. And that happens through your kindness. It happens through your patience, your respect to others, your integrity that you show when nobody else is watching. Sometimes the greatest witness is simply how you treat people day after day after day. I heard a story of a gentleman years ago who was in a church service, and the pastor of the church, this was a midweek service. It wasn't, a whole lot of people there necessarily. However, it was a pretty large church, about maybe 500-600 people. And the pastor just looked around the room and he began to notice that that family over there was invited by this gentleman in our church, and that family over there was invited by that same gentleman. And so he kind of just, nonchalantly in the service says, "I want to just do this. Would you stand up if you came to this church based off the invitation of this man right here in the congregation?" To his amazement, almost half of the entire congregation stood up to their feet. And amazed, the pastor got a microphone and then went down one by one and just asked the question, What did this gentleman in our church say to you to get you here? And one by one, they all basically said the same message. Many of those that were there were actually co-workers to this gentleman that had invited them to come to church. And they said one by one, the thing that amazed us the most, the thing that really encouraged me to get here and just check out this church, is the work ethic of this gentleman. You see, this gentleman worked in a tire factory. And if you don't know much about a tire factory, it is not a pleasant place to work, especially whenever it's hot outside. It's hot, it's humid. You get out of there with black tar all over your body just about, so it is a very disgusting place to work. But every day, this gentleman, it is said that before they would clock in and begin the day, he would look around and he would say a phrase along the lines of, "If you want to know how much I love God, watch how I work today." He would then go and work and do the work of 3 men all by himself in that one day. There's some instances where people got annoyed with him because he was outperforming them to such a degree that the bosses got on to the regular workers and said, "Why aren't you doing the same production that he is?" It's then that that same man that did all that work would go to other stations and assist those who had fallen behind. Amazing. And again, he would just say that phrase every day, "I love God so much, and if you want to know how much I love God, watch how I work today." And these people that are now in church, they all said the same thing. They said, "I just had to come and see what the fuss was about. If this man was willing to work like a dog and as hard and sweaty and disgusting as he was, but still was able to just, do all of these things, we had to come and we had to check out what his God was all about." Almost 250 people in that church came as a result of one man standing and saying, "Today I love God and I want to show you how much I love him by the way that I work." Amazing. What a conviction that I have and that you should have as well whenever we think about our own selves and what we are doing for God. Can people really tell how much love we have for God based solely upon the jobs that we do, the effort, the attention that we put into whatever it is that we are accomplishing? Living for God at the workplace or at school is not always easy, but it's always important. Be a light to a dark place. Work with excellence as unto the Lord. Stand for truth with a right spirit. Protect your testimony and treat others in a way that reflects Christ. Because the place you spend the most of your time is also the place where your faith is seen the most too. And when you live for God there, not just in church, you become a powerful example of what real, authentic Christianity looks like.